history of Clemens United Methodist Church is the history of Methodism in America. It's a compilation of locations and stories that span 243 years. The early people of this church and their descendants came together to become what is now Clemens United Methodist Church. Methodism in America began slowly. John Wesley lived and died an English cleric, theologian, and evangelist in the Anglican Church of England. His early relationship with German Moravians in the American colony of Georgia, paired with his method for living the Christian life, caused others to call him and his brother Charles Methodists. A series of preachers and missionaries came to America and organized small societies wherever they could. One of those missionaries, George Whitefield, made his way to eastern North Carolina. Missionaries eventually found their way to the western part of the colony and trickled through the Yadkin Valley. Preaching in the woods, near a series of rivers and early wagon roads, appealed to the early settlers of the colony, and Methodism, along with the Moravian Church, found a foothold in and around what is now Clemens, formerly the backwoods of Rowan County. In 1750, William Johnson arrived with his wife and 11 children to buy land along the Yadkin River. Johnson and his family would find the area somewhat inhospitable and built more of a fort than a house to protect his family from the Indians. When William Johnson died in 1765, he asked to be buried at the highest point on his land. His family cemetery and land, in what is now Tanglewood, would become our second church home 44 years later, Mount Pleasant Methodist Episcopal Church. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. In 1753, Moravians had begun to arrive to settle the Wachovia tract of land and began to build Bethabara. Then in 1762, a man named George McKnight purchased 611 acres along the Yadkin River from Lord Granville of England, who was given a large portion of North Carolina by King Charles II. McKnight liked what he heard from early missionaries and invited both Methodist and Moravian preachers to his home or meeting house. McKnight's meeting house became the first recognized Methodist meeting place in Yadkin Valley around 1780. In 1775, John Douthit, Sr., arrived with his family and helped establish Hope Moravian School and Church. While most Moravian churches still spoke German in their worship service, Hope would become the first English-speaking Moravian church in the area. Douthit's grandson, James, converted to Methodism and became one of the first circuit riders in our area. While there's nothing left of McKnight's meeting house, George McKnight was one of the largest landowners in the area. We recently had a conversation about McKnight with our church historian, Rich Brown.
Standing in the field at the intersection of Clemens Road and Lassiter Road, Rich shared that the land on both sides of Clemens Road, 611 acres, were owned by George McKnight. While we don't know exactly where this meeting house was located, most historians maintain that this land near the river and next to an artesian well was the logical place to build a home. He owned part of what is now Tanglewood Park and Tanglewood Commons. Many of the neighborhoods and roads in this area bear the name of McKnight and Francis Asbury. Asbury was bishop and held meetings here. McKnight's meeting house was the very first congregation of Clemens United Methodist Church in 1780, when we were still officially a Methodist society within the Church of England.
At the end of the Revolutionary War, John Wesley faced the inevitable. A breakdown had occurred between America and the Church of England, and he wisely surmised that no American would embrace the Anglican Church in America. So he sent Thomas Coke to the newly named United States of America to establish the Methodist Episcopal Church in the former colonies. Thomas Coke did just that. On Christmas Eve, 1784, at Lovely Lane Chapel in Baltimore, Maryland, the Methodist Episcopal Church was officially born.